In today's video, we'll be talking about whether the new iPhone 14 is a good purchase. So without any further ado, here's the answer to should you buy Apple stock after iPhone 14's release. Before Apple's announcement on September 7th, anticipation for its next line of goods is at an all-time high. As investors bet on higher pricing for the iPhone 14 family and make predictions about future augmented reality glasses from the tech giant, Apple stock has increased by more than 15% in the previous 2 months. In a recent note to clients, Bank of America analyst Wamsi Mohan said that in our perspective, iPhone price is the major focus item for investors, followed by timing and cadence of the launch and any news on pricing/bundling. Up until the event the following month, Mohan is still positive in Apple shares. Here are Mohan's comments about Apple. In his article, Mohan said, "In our Apple model, we assume iPhone 14 is sold at the same launch cost as iPhone 13. However, given the background of inflation, Apple might raise the price of the Pro models while maintaining the price of the lower-end models. Of course, high-end consumers are less price sensitive." We look at a scenario where Apple raises iPhone 14 Pro or Pro Max prices by $50 each while lowering prices for Apple 14 or 14 Max, and we estimate about 10 cents benefit if 10 million incremental iPhone units are sold, Mohan continued. If Apple were to raise Pro model prices by $50, we estimate a 20-cent EPS tailwind. For the past 14 years, Apple has released a new version of the iPhone around the beginning of its fiscal year. Many of these years have a double-digit rise for the stock, and the fiscal year 2020 experienced a triple-digit gain. According to Mohan, Apple has a strong iPhone upgrade cycle in the fiscal year 2023, driven by the need for higher connectivity, which will enable new AR/VR applications, higher growth in services revenues, expectation that the multiple will re-rate higher, as has been the case before major product launches, continuing strong capital returns, Apple likely to charge for app and in-app purchases outside the app stores, and shares like Apple AAPL. Businesses like HP have issued warnings about the PC industry's sluggish growth as customers cut down on their spending. Salesforce has issued a warning on slowing business customer sales, and to offset a slump in the advertising industry, businesses like Snap are mass-firing their workforce. After a sales shortfall late Tuesday, HP CEO Enrique Lores said on Yahoo Finance Live, "So this is something that we were anticipating, a slowdown in consumer, but obviously the slowdown was more than we were expecting." Apple is poised to introduce several significant marquee goods during its first live in-person event in 2019. Even still, the stock market seems to be mostly unaffected, which turns out to be typical for the IT behemoth. The iPhone 14 is set to be among the new goods that Apple unveils during the Far Out live event on September 7th. It will be Apple's first live event since 2019. Prior events were streamed online while lockdown regulations were in place. Based on the share price impacts of prior events, Far Out may not reserve the negative trend in Apple shares, which have been falling in recent sessions and have lost about 7% of their worth in the last month. If you're liking our content so far, make sure to hit that like button and subscribe to our channel. The present global economy may be seen in the market's downturn. Other digital behemoths like Google and Microsoft, whose goods have been pulled off many consumers' purchasing lists as the cost of living continues to climb, are also feeling this. Even 15 years after the late Steve Jobs unveiled the initial model, it's apparent that Apple's smartphone has been a success story. With the release of the iPhone 12 in 2020, Apple will have entered the 5G party at least 1 or 2 years behind the competition, but the corporation from Cupertino has definitely caught up thanks to impressive sales and market share increases over the last 24 months. Even some bears seem to think that the iPhone 14 will give Apple's 5G cycle more impetus. Perhaps the only sell-side analyst with an underperforming rating on Apple shares is Thiago Kalpowskis of Itaú BBA. He worries that an inflation-driven $100 price increase for the new Pro and Pro Max versions won't even reduce demand for the portable gadget. In fact, the analyst's negative thesis on the company includes the iPhone 14 as a significant risk. The question of how well the iPhone 14 will function during the Christmas season and into the next year is one thing. If positive financial numbers materialize, a totally different subject of discussion is whether they'll contribute to driving up Apple stock from its present levels of about $159 per share. Launches of the iPhone have generally resulted in more bearishness when it comes to sharing price movement. The graph below demonstrates how Apple often performs better in the spring and early summer. However, when the new iPhone is shown, investors seem to sell the news, and the stock of Apple underperforms all the way through January and until the end of the year. Well, this brings us to the end of our video. Hope you guys enjoyed it, and we'll see you again in the next one. Before making the purchase, it's always better to do the proper research and look at more graphs. Many of the graphs used by the Apple Maven are provided by StockRover. We've been impressed with the breadth and depth of information on markets, stocks, and ETFs that this platform provides. StockRover also helps to set up detailed filters, track custom portfolios, and measure their performance relative to a number of benchmarks.